Hello everyone, I am Mariani B. Francisca and I will be discussing about my topic which is everyday life as a narrative and reading images. So first I will be discussing about everyday life as a narrative. So it was stated in the previous topic that every text belongs with a genre. There cannot be a text without genre. So in the same manner we can say that narrative pervades all of life. There cannot be life without narrative, since narrative exists in every part of our life. But this is not because everyone's life is necessarily structured like a narrative, as discussed in the previous topic, because for so many of us, there is no plot evident and the causal connections between events are very unclear. So Michelle research points out that life is like narrative because the principle of narrative shapes our world. So as soon as we wake up in the morning, there is narrative. When we gossip, there is narrative. When we browse on the website, there is narrative. In journalism, there is narrative. In advertisement, there is narrative. And when we read a book, there is narrative. So it is true that narrative exists in our daily lives. So that is to say that the narrative is there not because it is inherent in life but because it envelops us and structures our practice or practice experience. Because as social creatures, we think in story, in time, character, in an event that will make sense of our own life in terms of the narratives we craft. So, therefore, we can say that narrative is a site of interaction, an active subject, rather than a static object or noun. So, the social values will always be inclined in narratives. But the question is, to what extent is it true to say that narratives will always be present and clear in visual text? So, according to Roland Barthes, that images do and don't have a relationship to linguistic text. And he said that imagery is a language, but it doesn't work like linguistic language. Because image can convey a message that according to him, it does not work like linguistic language in which it means an analysis of language form. But however, many theories argue that in the absence of words or other interpretative signs, it is very difficult to pin down a story. Strictly speaking, narratives are not built into or accessible within visual text as they are in verbal text. So it is also difficult to pin down story because for visual text to really work out, it must have the combination of image and visual text. So an image may indeed tell, but it tells without the clarity provided by words, and without the principles of narrative organization that are readily possible in verbal language. So yes, it is true that image tells without clarity and maybe it would be interpret in different ways. So my next report is about reading images. So the producers of visual text through the millennia have gone to considerable efforts by adding written material since technology have evolved in which the use of visual text also evolved and it can be easily understood. So in ancient Egypt and Greece, they are marked by captions and other writing material that can make the meaning of visual material more clear. And in medieval paintings too, they are characterized by the addition of interpretations or cues to the reading, like familiar icons, tituli, scrolls, or performers who stood by the works. Next, the news photographs are interpreted by their captions as much as their content. And then another is the comic strips in graphic novels rely on the textual information as much as the genres and drawing and reading. So Barthes writes, it is not very accurate to talk of a civilization of the image. We are still and more than ever a civilization of writing. Because he said that the function of words in reference to visual text are first to anchor meaning, then to relay it to their direct readers. This does not mean that images are readable only by the addition of text. The best example of these are the Japanese manga comics that are remarkably caption free. So, it was also stated that reading manga means reading images because of the general literacies among the audiences of cinematographic techniques, just juxtaposition of features, and the representation of objects. So Gombrich explained it in this way that the chance of a correct reading of the image is governed by three variables: the code, the caption, and the context. So the best example of these are the manga comics because they they have these three literacies. And another example is the public restroom. So to read an iconic text correctly, we need to know the code. So which is the figure of men and women with or without skirt, and the context, sign of human form in the public restroom. And lastly is the caption of men and women. So there ends my report. Thank you for watching.